It's your soccer zombie, Tom Franklin, back from Energizer Park, a 1-0 win over Seattle, first time in 5 attempts. I'm pretty freaking pumped about that. I'm going to show you why right now with a candidate for man of the match. No, it's not Super Mario. It's this guy. Run the intro. All right, now that I've had some rest and I've gotten some of my voice back, although not completely, got some housekeeping items to take care of first, like the fact that from oliveandyork.com, the new 1950 U.S. men's national team kit is now for sale. Remember, proceeds from sales of this kit will go towards Generation City, and they will also go towards improving this channel as well. Everything I'm earning goes right back into this to bring you a better experience. So check it out at oliveandyork.com. Pre-orders are going on right now. Also want to thank Pat Connolly Tavern for helping support this channel as well, located at the corner of Oakland and Tam in beautiful Dogtown since 1942. A great place to catch a game, grab a bite to eat, what have you. And they were very instrumental in helping me get to a couple of places this past weekend, including KC Current. Yes, I am going to address this hat for you right here and right now. I'm going to wear it for this whole entire video. So the KC Current played their home opener on Saturday against Portland Thorns, and it was a wonderful game. KC Current won 4-1. Actually, it was 3-1. It should have been 4-1, but one of the goals got called back due to offsides. It was a fun performance, a great crowd as always at CPKC Stadium, and I swear to God, St. Louis fans, get your butts to a KC Current game. It is a good time in a great stadium. They play on the Missouri side, so you can't even hold that against them, St. Louis. But yeah, I'll have the vlog from this game coming out either Monday or Tuesday. One vlog that will not be coming out is the City 2 versus SKC 2 vlog. I tried a new camera out. It didn't work. Here's Makai Joyner's goal. Also, I had an interview with the sister of Colin Welsh, the starting goalkeeper for City 2 Friday night. It was his first ever pro start, and she answers a very important question right off the bat. How annoying is your older brother?
Well, I don't see him anymore, but when he lived with us, he was pretty annoying.
But unfortunately, as you can see, I had some recording issues, and so that vlog will not be coming out, and that camera will not be used ever again. But I posted the whole interview on my Blue Sky as well as Discord. But we're here to talk about what happened Saturday night. St. Louis City SC defeating Seattle Sounders 1-0, the first ever win over Seattle in St. Louis's history in their 5th time of trying. So let's go ahead and rank some players, and I think I got some rankings here that you're going to be kind of surprised about, others that you probably won't be, but that's kind of par for the course. And we're going to lead right off with the man in net, Ben Lunt. Ben Lunt having to come on in kind of sort of emergency duty as Roman Berkey was injured Friday, broke his hand, and looks like he might be out for at least the next couple of weeks, as you know, hand injuries typically go. I thought Ben Lunt looked good when he needed to, but he also didn't have too much to do. And again, that's kind of a product of the St. Louis system. I also thought that Seattle, despite having almost a 2-1 possession advantage, didn't really do much with their possession. I think one thing Ben Lunt really needs to work on, and he's not going to be Rowan Burke in this regard, but he does need to work on his ball distribution. Only completed 59% of his passes. Some of his longer distributions just didn't connect very well. That's something that he's definitely not going to be Rowan Burke on, but then again, few will be. I think that this weakness of Loon might put more pressure in the long term on the defenders and wingbacks to get the ball forward and linking up to the midfielders like Leuven and Hartle and those guys. But that being said, that's a real minor quibble. I thought that he didn't do anything catastrophic, put it that way. Lund, again, he made one stop. He otherwise looked stalwart where he needed to be, and he's a big boy, so he is going to be someone that, if he's on his game, will just be eating up a lot of space as well. So may not be the easiest to score against, but I liked how Luton looked. Again, didn't have the most to do, but I thought he had a good game, and I think it's an encouraging start for him. Clean sheet, fourth straight clean sheet in a row. You really can't argue with that. And if he's going to be the guy for a while, we really kind of need to see what we have in Ben Loon, because he's only started 5 matches since he signed with St. Louis way back in the day. So we just need to see what we have with him. And I'm encouraged. Next player we're going to talk about is Tomas Totland, and the injury for him is a real downer. Looked like he pulled up with a hammy and a non-contact injury, but up to that point, I thought he had a very hard-working game, as is his forte. Found himself inverting a lot in the offensive zone. I was willing to cut towards the middle of the field a lot in the final third, I noticed. Working to get himself in better possessions to pass. I think that he had a better game in that regard, as he did complete 80% of his passes. In the past, he was a little shaky on his services into the box, but he did create a good chance at one point. Workman-like performance before his injury. Hopefully, he's not going to be gone for too long. Jay Clem on our Discord, the Soccer Zombie Discord, Jeremy Clements, felt that he had a good game, like a lot of our back line did, and I agree. So I'm going to give Totland a good get well soon, because already looking kind of thin at right wing back here, and Totland going down does not help matters. Someone that could probably slide in to be a temporary right wing back, although I don't know if that's going to be the plan necessarily. Kyle Hebert. I hope they don't, because Hebert has looked solid as a central defender. And Saturday night, I think he had his best game of the year. And this was the first time that I thought that he looked like the better contemporary to Henry Kessler than Giannis Horn. And that's not to take away from Giannis Horn. I just thought that Hebert had a very effective game. He had won a lot of headers, was clearing the ball out. His positioning was sound. He had some good clearances, good recoveries. His passing was better as well. He's got to simplify his game a little bit in that regard. He's not the liability that Josh Yarrow is, for instance, but he needed to improve on that, and I thought he took some steps in that. Clearly, Olaf Milberg has a lot of confidence in him, and I can kind of see why. He had a very strong game. In fact, I am actually going to go ahead and say that Kyle Hebert smashed it. I thought he was that good, and just watching him in front of me in the north end in the first half, and then just throughout the game, he didn't really put a bad foot in all game. So Kyle Hebert, very strong game, but not as strong. And I don't have a God tier yet on this, but if I did, I would put King Henry up there. King Henry Kessler. What more can you say about Henry Kessler at this point? He might be a candidate for a third man of the match here in these player rankings. Of course, didn't win it in the fan vote, because I don't think fans understand, like the casual fans really can see what we can see sometimes with defenders and the work that they do. Because again, by nature, it's not a position where you're supposed to be especially noticeable. But Matt Baker pointed out Kessler's insane stats last night. I'll just run them down for you here. 12 clearances, he led the team. 8 headed clearances, he led the team. 2 interceptions, he co-led the team. 6 recoveries, he was second on the team, and he was the most fouled player. And he also had 31 out of 32 completed passes. That is almost a perfect passing percentage from your sweep it out central defender in the 3 in the back system. What more can we say? Well, Jason Goodbody on Blue Sky says Kessler should have been man of the match, played an exceptional game in positioning, leading the back line, communication, measurable defensive actions. I mean, this was a absolute S tier performance, and I almost want to come out here and say that this was Henry Kessler's best game of the season, which is saying something because he has been incredible all season long. And just when you thought that he couldn't be any better, I'd argue that he had his best against Seattle on Saturday. So easy smash. And quite frankly, he's going to be a man of the match candidate here for sure. It's either him or Lubin at this point, but we'll get to that later on. Giannis Horn, I continue to like what Giannis Horn does as a left center back that can slide out to play left wing back at times. I think he suits Olaf's system pretty well, and so far he has had a very solid season. I thought this was more of an understated performance from him Saturday night. Didn't really do anything to jump out at me per se, but he's part of that back line that once again. Fourth clean sheet in a row. I feel his left wing partner had more of a busy night. We'll get to him next. But overall, a good performance. If on the quieter side, Jeremy Clements also agrees in the Soccer Zombie Discord. So yeah, Giannis Horn, a good performance. Just nothing really stood out, but he did his job. Also doing his job and then some a little bit was Conrad Vollum. Conrad Vollum, I'm going to be sad if we don't trigger the buy option on him at the end of the year. And I think that's a possibility. I have heard that his buy option is a bit on the luxurious side, at least for a club like St. Louis. But he busted his ass Saturday night. He was up and down the field, had a couple shots on net, created another chance. His passing was very sound, 23 of 25 passing. Still had the least touches of anyone playing in 90 minutes. And I just feel at some point that we are going to see the Conrad Vollum show in a game. He's going to break out where he gets to show his real quality. And if Tottenham's going to be out, then of your wingbacks, Conrad Vollum becomes your best ball progressor by a country mile. So I wonder if Tottenham's going to be out for a bit, if more of the play does kind of shift to the left as opposed to the right, as we have seen so far this season. But I thought he was also very strong defensively. He had a couple key blocks. He just worked very hard in general. He's a borderline smash for me. And again, smash means great. Smash means great. I mean, I don't have a god tier yet, but smash is not god tier necessarily. It just covers if you had a great game. Um, Conrad, I'm gonna stop short of calling him a smash, but he's a very, very high good. He'd be straddling the line if I had the ability to do that on tier maker. The only thing stopping him from being a smash is just the fact that I want to see him take over a game like I think he is capable of doing. Edouard Leuven, he scored and he had beautiful free kick, harken back to 2023 when he was literally free kick Jesus. Rest of the game solid as well. And he's an interesting case in that I feel, and you may feel, let me know in the comments, that I've been a bit unfair to him this season so far. I think in this scheme, Edouard Leuven tends to go a little unnoticed because he is not the primary chance creator that he's been in the past. We have a Marcel Hartle for that now. And Leuven plays a deeper role, he plays a little further back. So he is definitely more of a quiet metronome now in the midfield, just, getting passes forward, but not being on the business end of them necessarily. He's just that steady central link. And at times he is kind of hard to notice, whether you're in person or watching the rewatch. You have to really kind of study on him to see what he does. But he had a very, very solid performance, 28 of 31 passes completed. He was pulled in the 62nd minute, but I think Leuven is an easy smash. I think he is also a candidate for man of the match because he scored and otherwise played a very, very solid game. Chris Durkin. So Chris Durkin remains a bit of an enigma for me. I fear he's going to become my new Thor because there's things that Durkin does that I really like, and this was reinforced on the rewatch. He's very active. He's a pain in the ass to play against, and he is a expert shithouser. Before the Leuven free kick, it was Chris Durkin that was trying to do the Simon Betcher thing of standing in front of the goalie. Eventually, Fry called the ref over, and the ref kind of escorted Durkin away this time. But That being said, Durkin is also a player that drives me nuts, and I think he drives a lot of fans nuts because I think he plays way too far upfield at times. I also think that he really needs to be told to stop shooting the ball. He is not a good. He is just not good. He is like he's just again. He is that typical MLS archetype: strong like bull, smart like sidewalk. When it comes to things like that and fouling, he had a couple like rips outside the box that were just nowhere close. And had there been a little more patience, maybe there could have been something created out of instead of just Durkin yeeting it into the sixth row. As I said, another way he might be my new Thor in that regard. But and again, Jabulo Blom even had more scoring touch than Chris Durkin. But overall, though, on the rewatch, I think Durkin still had a good game. I'll go ahead and put him into the good category. It's just that he just drives me nuts. He just absolutely drives me nuts at times, but that's just who he is. Akil Watts. This is gonna be tough. And I think I'm gonna get some flack in this in the comments. I can see it already. I thought at times he was terrible. On at least two occasions, he couldn't complete a simple cross to advance the ball and just sailed it out of bounds. He has very poor touch with his passes. It's been the case with him all season. Last on Saturday night, 11 of 19 passing total. That's not good. That is not good, especially and part of the reason I'm being hard on him is because he was playing a further up role. He was playing alongside Marcel Hartle, where you need to be a creator. You need to pull some strings, and he just to me wasn't doing it. He did have one good 1-2 link up with Totland in the second half before Totland got hurt, but otherwise it was just a tactical oddity to me. Mike from River City Ramble, I stood next to him during the game. We got on Apple TV a few times, but we thought it was just baffling that Watts was playing so far up the field this time. And really, this game didn't really change my opinion of that. At one point during this game, I would have put Watts in the trash category because I just thought he was very ineffective. But I will say that after Tottenham went down, Watts did shift to right wing back, and I thought he played better as a right wing back. And if he's going to be the starting right wing back going forward, that might be the spot for him. I just don't think he is a 10. I think that he was playing out of position. I would have rather have seen Klaus start, alongside Teuscher. I think would have been better for Teuscher. But I think this was more of Olaf seeing what Watts is capable of, still trying to get a feel for that front three and the look that he ultimately wants. Again, this is game number 4 for Olaf, coming into MLS entirely. So I think there's still a bit of a learning process with Olaf as there is just for Watts and learning what role he's going to play because he's been moving around a little bit already. But I will say that clearly Watts is someone that Olaf likes because he's 4 for 4 on getting starts. He's probably the type of player that busts his ass in practice. He just seems like that type, and he's someone that can probably impress a coach. Kind of like Hebert's earned his opportunities, Josh Yarrow's earning his opportunities. All three of them very hardworking guys, and I'm sure they're players that stand out to coaches just for their effort. Long term, if you're looking for a 10 to play alongside Hartle and behind a striker like Teuscher or Betcher or Klaus, Watts just is not the guy. I think someone like Thomas Ostrak, if you're looking for a fill-in, would be better for that long term. But again, Ostrak is coming off of it back from injury as well, so you don't want to rush him back into the fold. So that being said, Jeremy Clements thought that Watts had an upper tier meh game, but he his inability to pass really just was glaring to me. And call me harsh if you want. Akil Watts had a bad game, in my opinion. Leave me a comment below. Let me know if you think that's too harsh. I just thought Akil Watts had a rough one Saturday nights, and it just was not the right role for him. But again, we're learning as we go along, and so is Olaf. So, and again, with Tottenham being out, Watts might find a better home as a right wing back, which I think he can do. He can go up and down the field. He's got some good pace to him. So hopefully better times ahead for Kill Watts. It just wasn't working for me Saturday night. Marcel Hartle was working for me Saturday night. Not the best I've seen from Hartle, but I thought he still had a pretty good game. Had a couple real quality chances, especially in the second half. He had the rebound that he couldn't quite get a leg on off of the Simon Betcher shot. And then there was one where he was able to dribble in from the left wing and get a really close range shot that he tried to tuck in near post, but Stephen Fry was there to make the save. Um, I I think that he was still trying to pull strings in the final third. I thought I liked it's kind of the same thing with San Diego, where a lot of people thought that he had a bad game in San Diego. I still thought that, I like the effort from Hartle. I like his ideas. This was kind of one of those games for me as well, where, did Hartle get on the score sheet? No. But I still thought that he had a good effort overall. I liked what he was doing. I'm going to go and put him in good. I thought Hartle had good games Saturday night. And with a bit more luck, he gets on the score sheet. Or at least, gets an assist because he was also trying to create some chances as well. The offense still needs to kind of find itself a little bit, but yeah, I think once we get going, Hartle's going to be a catalyst going forward. I have no doubt of that. Do have some doubts about Seti Toyshirt though. And this is another match like San Diego where I thought Seti was a little bit invisible. He only had 17 touches, which was very low. Um, I thought that Mike also pointed out that having Seti as a lone striker was a bit of a questionable choice. And I agree with that. There was nothing in this game that led me to believe otherwise. Seti just seems like someone, and this was even dating back to his Hanover days from, what I could research, where he plays better with a contemporary playing along next to him. That's why I think that, Klaus and Seti could be a good partnership going forward. They seem to, play into each other's strengths pretty well. Toysher's a good finisher. Klaus is a good facilitator, can attract attention away from Toysher, that kind of thing. But Toysher as the lone man up top just was not working for me Saturday night. Um, I I will say though that it wasn't for a lack of effort. I mean, Toysher did have the second most passes into the final third of the game. It still also kind of looks like he's shaking off the rust a little bit. He didn't have much of a preseason because he was in the process of getting his green card. So he was pulled in the 62nd minute. I'm going to be nice with Seti. I'm going to give him a meh performance. Jeremy Clements thought that he actually had a good performance, but I just don't think he did much for me to really pull himself out of meh. But he didn't have a bad game either. It's just kind of like, but I will borrow the reasoning with Watts a little bit. I just don't think Seti's a good lone striker. I just don't think that's his role. He needs a contemporary, like Joachini. I think Nicholas Joachini needed a contemporary alongside him. He's not a lone tip of the spear type, and neither is Seti Toyshirt. I think in a lot of ways, Seti Toyshirt is an upgraded Nico Joachini. Let me know if I'm wrong. All right, on to the subs. Alfredo Morales, congratulations to Alfredo for 100 appearances in MLS competition. The stalwart veteran came on for Edouard Leuven in the 62nd minute. And really, I think we've learned at this point that Alfredo Morales is the discount version of Edouard Leuven, and that's how Olaf is deploying him as Edouard Leuven's late game sub. They really play very similar, as deep lying playmakers. Um, wasn't as clinical as Leuven, but then again, that's as I said, he's kind of a low rent Leuven at this point. But I thought he had a very steady performance. Had a nice diving 2-footed tackle to break up a Seattle attack late in the game. Had some fire to his game, had some passion to his game that I liked. Um, didn't really jump out to me otherwise, though. But that's kind of the style of his game, and it was kind of the complaint that I had with Leuven, and that just in his role, he just sometimes doesn't do things that really jump out to me. Um, I'm gonna put him in meh, but it's a good meh. It would be a straddle between good and meh. Um, maybe if he gets I want to see what Morales does in a start. And I know with his injury history, you don't want him starting a lot of matches, but I just want to see. I'm still waiting to see some of that sizzle that we saw from him in the preseason. But at the same time, he has not been bad at all. I think he's been a pretty good signing so far. It's just he did come off the bench and he just had a workmanlike performance. Simon Betcher, on the other hand, I thought he had a strong shift as a sub for Seti Toyshirt. Seemed to have his nose into things a little bit more. Had a quality chance on Stephen Fry that Fry had to make a really good diving save on. He did have that stupid yellow card where he was trying to time waste a little bit. I think that sometimes that Simon Betcher can be a little bit like Scary Jerry in that he is a really good master of the arts of shithousery, but sometimes he goes a little too far at times, and that was kind of one of those times. Um, but I think still, I maintain that Simon Betcher coming on as a Final 30 sub is a great role for him because he is so plucky. He can, really wind up opponents, get into their heads a little bit, but he's also a good finisher of the ball. I mean, he almost had a goal Saturday night to put the dagger into Seattle. So I think Simon Betcher definitely has a role on this team, and I think we're seeing that role coming into play. And he's still a fan favorite because he just plays a style that is noticeable, and I thought he had a very good shift as a sub. So I'll go and put him in good. It's not like a super high good, but it was a good shift. It was a very good shift from him. That yellow card does kind of knock him down a little bit, but it was a good shift for Betcher, I thought. Another player that I thought had a pretty good shift, and I really can't knock, is a player that came on right after Betcher, like literally like the minute after, Josh Yarrow. I also think using him as a late game, no nonsense defender is a good role for him. And I thought he did his job, and I thought he did his job pretty well, just watching him in front of me in the North End in the second half. I do find it kind of curious at this point, though, that Josh Yarrow gets more nods off the bench than Timo Baumgartel. Timo Baumgartel has the pedigree, former PSV, Schalke, Union Berlin, Stuttgart. And it's so interesting to me that after 4 games, we've hardly seen Baumgartel, but yet we've seen so much Josh Yarrow at this point. And I made the point earlier that, maybe Josh Yarrow is just one of those types that can really impress a coach with his effort during practice, and maybe that's getting rewarded here. But I really can't complain when Josh Yarrow comes in and does his job. And I still get nervous when the ball's at his feet. I still get nervous when he has to make a pass. But as someone that can, win the occasional header and clear the ball out, that's what he does. And I thought it was a solid role for him. And I thought he had a pretty solid shift himself. He's part of the clean sheet crew. So I'll put Josh Yarrow in good. I liked what I saw from him Saturday night. Tomas Ostrak, speaking of things that you love to see, Ostrak getting some game time, subbed on after the Thomas Totland injury, so you don't like that he came on for that reason. But he went into the 10 role and shifted Watts back, although in general in the second half, it was more of a 5-4-1 that City was playing rather than the 5-3-2-1 that they started out in. But Ostrak had some good passes, like Betcher, good late game plucky type as well. But with the salary he makes, I do want to see more of him in this system. And the fact that Olaf did call his number maybe indicates that Olaf wants to see more out of him as well. But again, he is coming back from injury. And I think for a lot of the same reasons we didn't see Celio last night, or haven't seen much of him this year, it was kind of cold, so you don't want to rush players back in cold weather like that. But he did feel that Ostrak was good enough for about a half hour of action, and I thought he asserted himself pretty well. I thought did create a chance. His passing was 12 of 13, 92%. So he looked pretty solid there. Had a shot blocked as well in the second half. So I'm going to go ahead and say Ostrak. He had a good game as well. And I'll put it would be like a straddle with meh a little bit just because he didn't have the most time to show off. But I thought I was very impressed with Ostrak and his limited duty. Finally, Joachim Nilsson, good to see him come on in the 90th minute. One of the unfortunate Swiss talents that seemed to have trouble staying healthy. Didn't really have much time to do anything of note. Nothing really jumped out to me. He did have a moment, though, where he had a chance to clear the ball and instead tried to dribble out of danger, and he ended up kind of yeeting it out of bounds when instead of when he could have cleared it downfield. But that's kind of a subjective thing. That was just one of those like from my vantage point kind of things from the north end. But again, he didn't really have a lot of time to do anything of note, so I'm just going to put him in meh. But it is good to see him back, and we'll see how he ends up in Olaf's reckoning. Because do you do you really want to break up the Horn, Kessler, Hebert connection with the back three? I don't. I think that connection deserves to stay together, for the foreseeable future, which means what becomes of Joakim Nilsson? Do you want Joakim Nilsson to play that central defender role that I think most people think he's accustomed to and move Kessler out of it? I don't, because Kessler has been fantastic in that role. So, yeah, let me know in the comments what becomes of Joakim Nilsson now, because this defense has moved on without him at this point. I know it's only 4 games in, but it kind of feels like he might be just a, sub off the bench at this point. At least if I was coaching the team, which I'm not, Olaf is. And speaking of which, let's talk about Olaf. You can't tell me that he doesn't deserve a smash at this point. 4 straight clean sheets. One of only, I believe, 3 teams ever do that in MLS history, and one of them with a backup goalkeeper, for Christ's sake. The system is working as intended. He did use all 5 this subs this time, which is a plus. Again, I kind of talked about I'm getting a little concerned with the lack of Celio, but again, with a broken leg injury, you want to really be careful with that. So that's fair. But I think it is fair to question at this point what role Celio will have going forward, because if Celio is going to be a late game sub, do you necessarily want him subbing out a Conrad Vollum when Vollum's the more stronger defender? Do you maybe try Celio, where Akil Watts was tonight? That might be a possibility. Maybe Celio can be kind of a supplementary striker to Cedric Toyshirt, in that kind of a role. But there's more questions than answers about what you do with Celio, but that's really not the point of this whole Olaf rating here. I do find it curious that he did go with Akil Watts and not Joao Klaus. I wonder if Joao Klaus is just nursing an injury or maybe just giving him a breather. Um, I question why you put Watts up that high when he's just not the most technical of passers and just of ability in general. He works hard. I don't think anyone's ever gonna take that away from Akil Watts. It just was not the right role for him. But I like overall what Olaf is doing with this club. The system is working. And I even like Olaf's passion. He got a yellow card in the second half, which I'm sure as a former world level defender, playing for Aston Villa, he's probably accustomed to getting yellow cards. So it's probably nothing new for him. So you really can't argue with Olaf's results. And again, I think it is an absolute smash. So comes time now for man of the match. And really, when I went into this one, I thought it was a 2-horse race between Henry Kessler and Edouard Leuven. But the more I think about it, I really cannot give it to anyone else except Henry Kessler. Henry Kessler if he's not on MLS, best 11 this week, then MLS is, to quite put it frankly, fucked in the head, because they are, I don't know what game of soccer they are watching, but Henry Kessler was, I defy you to find a better defender in all of MLS this past weekend than Henry Kessler. Period. End of story. Henry Kessler is your man of the match once again, 3 times now the man of the match. But what did you think of this player rankings? Do you think I was too harsh on Akil Watts? Do you think maybe I should have shown Seti a little bit more love? Do you think that I'm being too kind to the likes of Kyle Hebert or Josh Yarrow, for instance? I can see where people might think that. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe for more player rankings like this. Also, thank you to the Zombie Ultras. Now 13 of you, a lucky 13 after Ryan Fraley signed up. Thank you so much for that, Ryan, and for helping me fund this channel and provide more content to you, as well as the supporter section as well. Thank you so much for that. Consider supporting this channel if you enjoy content like this. This is your soccer zombie, Tom Franklin here. And why do I keep talking about the KC Currents so much this video and on this channel? Well, let me show you why I keep talking about them. I'm going to put a video up right here. If it is in the near future, it's going to be the away day review from my game that I went to last year. If it's a little further off into the future, it'll be the vlog from Saturday, which I'm hoping to come out Monday or Tuesday. So just bear with me on that. I'm tired. I had a lot of traveling and a lot of fun Saturday night. Just bear with me, okay?